Here it goes. Okay, again, so we are going to, by the end of our hour, hopefully create a Google My Map, navigate and learn the tools within Google My Maps. We're going to build a community map, and then we will talk about sharing Google Maps using Padlet and other ways to app smash Padlet with your Google Maps. Okay, so we're going to start out with just a little storytelling with Google Maps. So here is this link. I'll go ahead and place it in the chat for you as well. It's going to ask you to force copy this document. Yeah, and I will put the in there again. Sign in. So when you open up this link, it's going to ask you to force copy. Give everybody a minute to get there. When you force copy, you're going to see this I remember when, place-based storytelling with Google Maps. So this is just a fun little activity that I've done with students, like in the beginning of the year, to get to know them, to find out something about them, something that they like. So the first thing it does is it asks the story of your place. So write a special memory or a story that goes along with some kind of location. It could be any location that they've visited, that they like to visit, that they want to visit. So they just write a little story about their place. And then what I do is I have them click here to this collaborative Google Map and find their favorite place. So this is the map that I've used for PD. So you can see other times that I've given this PD some different places that people have marked on the map, right? So some people, this was my example one. I posted that my happy place was Lake Don Pedro, and I posted a little picture of me and my daughter on a tube. So you can make these Google Maps collaborative and interactive, right? Very simple here, where we're just marking a place on the map that is our favorite place. So what I'd like to ask you to do is go to this map, put it in the chat, go to this Google My Map and search for your favorite place. So up here in the search bar, you can just type in whatever your favorite place is. Like if I wanted to say that my favorite place was Washington, D.C., which is also another favorite place of mine, I would just start typing in Washington, D.C., click it, and it will take me and drop a pin right there in Washington, D.C. And you can notice that there's this little Add to Map plus button. So I would click that button, and it adds this to the map. Give everybody a little second to navigate that. So once I pin that little spot on the map, you'll notice that there's some tools on the bottom. There is a little bucket, paint bucket. So if I click on that, I can change the color of my pin. I can also change, I can give it an icon. There's like, you know, when you're looking on Google Maps, like the little bar and restaurant icon or the home icon or the little walking, hiking guy icon, parking, right? So I can change the style of my icon. And then next to that is a little edit, a little pencil. So from here, I could change the name. I wanted to change the name of the place. I'm thinking some reasons to change the name, right? If you're a history teacher, or even if you're teaching a novel that's like not based in a real place, but you're having students map something and you want them to change the name of that to reflect whatever it is that they're learning in a book. You can also write a brief description here. So in a little bit, I'm going to show you a map that I worked on last year with a teacher where students actually mapped parts of the Vietnam War. And so in their map, they had to write a description about that place. So down here is where you could have students write why this is their happy place, right, in this map. So they can write why they love visiting this place. And then of course they would hit save. And then their little blurb is going to be there. Next, that is the little image. So from here, you can click and add an image from your computer or from the internet. I have seen a teacher, they had students find different Confederate monuments, and they had to draw a picture of how they would change that Confederate monument, and then they took a picture and linked their picture to the spot on the map. So you could also have students take pictures and put their own pictures in the map. The next little button is directions. So if you want to just share directions to this place, you can map the directions. And then there's the trash can if you wanted to delete that pin from your map. So basic Google Map, right? So something that I've done with students to get them familiar with Google Maps, to get familiar with maps and click around before we do like an actual assignment with Google Maps. So for this one, you can just find a spot and pin it on the map. I haven't had people add layers because you can only add so many layers. So because I keep using the same map in PDs, like I run out of layers. But if you're using it with students in a class, you can have them up here click add layer. And it adds a separate layer. So you can have them title that layer with their name. That way you know that that's their layer. And if you were having them pin multiple places, they would keep it in their one layer. So you can see here, this is my layer and some places that I have pinned. And then other teachers have added layers. Like here's Brian Tuminelli, who was at a training and added a layer. He put Lake Tahoe. So if we click on that, it would take us over to his Lake Tahoe blurb and a picture that he found. So sometimes I've used layers with groups, like each group has a layer in the map. I can't remember, but there's only so many layers that you can add. I can't remember off the top of my head how many it is. But Julie, I'm thinking about like your French class. This would be fun. Or when you took those students to France, they could have like labeled the places that they were going to visit and researched them. Oops. So there is just a simple introduction to Google My Maps. Also, if you're traveling, like outside of classroom use, if you're traveling somewhere, you can make a Google My Map of the places that you want to visit. So I just pinned Washington, D.C., but when I went and visited there with my dad, I pinned all of these places that I wanted us to go to. And then I was able to just pull up that map on my phone. And then I could easily just click and get walking directions to all the places that I wanted to go. So even if you're traveling somewhere, you can pre-create a Google map and pin the places you want to go to, and then have that map will show up on your phone if you have the Google Maps on your phone. Also a fun way, or if you're traveling with a group of people, you can pin all the different places that you're going to be visiting. So uses for inside the classroom, outside the classroom, Google Maps. So hopefully that gave you some time to play around. You're going to have some more time in a little bit. And then feel free to take this map and modify it and use it in your classrooms. Anything here, feel free to take. So just wanted to remind us that pedagogy first and technology second, right? Sometimes we get caught up in like, that's a really cool technology tool, and then that becomes like the learning versus the pedagogy. So always, are my students learning? Can I be more effective? And can I be more efficient? So how can technology help me be more effective and efficient, but pedagogy always first? Okay, so before we get into some of the nitty-gritty of what you can do, I wanted to show you this example that I worked with a teacher on last year, like I talked about earlier, for the Vietnam War. So this was a week-long activity where they were close reading a document, summarizing, deepening their understanding, and learning from each other by pinning things on the map. Oops. Do I not have this stuff linked? I thought I had it linked. Okay. We can see here that they were given this document. I'll go and link these later so that you'd be able to click on them. But we created this Google Doc. And so it had like a little bit of a reading about Vietnam and then these red boxes where they were to stop and they were to add it to their map. So it gave them directions like stop, go to your Google My Maps, draw two lines or find Laos and Cambodia and put pins on them and then summarize. So this was a longer reading that they went through, and every little red box was a place that they were stopping in the reading and they were summarizing and finding the place on their map. So ultimately they this one's in the back, but ultimately they got maps, like you can see. They got maps that had all these places over here pinned in Vietnam of different aspects of the Vietnam War. So they were each working on their individual map while they were going through the reading. And then ultimately they took that map. So you can see here some of the different Vietnam War places that they found, right? The 17th parallel, they drew line. They marked places in Hanoi and Saigon. Oh my gosh, my cat. The Gulf of Tonkin. They used the line tool to trace the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And then they had to write little summaries and find pictures, as you can see here, associated with that place that they marked on the map. And then finally, they took that map and they added it to a Padlet, and then they went and did kind of a virtual gallery walk and they looked at each other's Padlets. And one cool thing that we did that we found you can do on Padlet is you can screencast right from within Padlet. So they screencasted a little brief overview of their map so that their peers could look at their map, watch their screencast, and then provide them comments and feedback and likes. So just one activity that maybe will spark some ideas for you. Let's see, Adrian. So it really depends on what you want to do. You can have like a class map that all your students are working on. You can have, they can create their own map and be working on it as a group or as an individual. It really depends on what you want them to do. Sometimes if you have lots of people on a map, it can get messy. So if they were all mapping the Vietnam War and marking the same place, that might get messy. So in this instance, they did their own maps. But I've also seen people do like table maps so that everybody at the table is working on the map together, or maybe everybody at the table has different parts of the map that they're looking for or working on. One person's writing the blurb and one person's finding the picture and one person is finding the place or marking the lines. So really flexible in how you want to work on the map together, individual, group. Or as the teacher, you can create your own map and use it throughout your teaching. So I have also seen a teacher created a map and then did Lewis and Clark. And so they had created their own map and pinned all of these places with pictures. And then the students went through with a note guide and they looked at the places on the map and then they filled out the notes. So the teacher made the map with the places and the descriptions and pictures, and then students took notes from the map. So super various ways that you can be flexible when using Google Maps. So here's another one, mapping a unit. So this one was US imperialism. So you can see that each layer that the student added, they added a different layer of imperialism. So at first they did trade with Japan and buying Alaska, and they went through and marked different things. They added a layer for the Spanish-American War, and then they added places from the Spanish-American War, US involvement in Latin America. So you can also use it as review at the end of a unit for students to go through and map. And I always apologize that my examples are always very social studies based. That's my knowledge, my stronger area of knowledge. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through some of the basic pieces of making a map, and then I'm going to set you free for a little bit to create your own map. So on this slide, you'll see the link to Google My Maps. So if you click on that, it will take you to Google My Maps. You can also just search Google My Maps or look in your waffle and find where Google My Maps is. Google Maps. So from here, there's this red button that says create a new map. So you would click on create a new map and it would create your base blank map. So from there, one of your first steps is going to be to title your map. Right, so you're going to want to make sure when you click on the title that you title your map. I'm going to go through this, and then, like I said, I'm going to give you some time to do the same thing. Sometimes it can be hard to follow along and watch and do it at the same time. And I see so asking for science examples. Let me think. You can have students add a brief description. I could see, depending on what type of science you're teaching, if you're teaching about biology, maybe students are mapping some kind of like a biome with where animals live, because it depends on the science that you're teaching. Or if you're researching maybe some scientists, they could mark some places in that scientist's life, like where they were born or where they studied. I'm sure there's other people that have some ideas. Let's see, Julia says fault lines and tectonic plates. So first thing to do, title your map. You can give your map a short description and then save it. That way it'll be easier to find it. Some other important features of the map, like we looked at earlier, right? The search tool at the top. So if you just search in any place, it will find it for you. And then when you select the place, that little pin mark appears that we looked at earlier. And you can remember, you can change the color of the pin, the style of the pin. That's also where you would edit it to add a description or an image. And then adding layers. So if I went up here and I typed in, let's see. I think I could even go in here because I was talking about Old Faithful with my kids yesterday. So I could even go in here and type in Old Faithful. Here it pops up, drops me that pin. Click the little plus sign that says add to map. It adds it over here to my map as Old Faithful. So say I wanted to title this layer like Yellowstone. And I wanted to mark some places in Yellowstone. Again, I could change the color of the pin. That one blends in, it's kind of hard to see. And I can add more details. So say I'm doing research on different national parks. I could have a layer of Yellowstone, and then I could go add layer and put in, like, let's say Zion. And then from here, I could search for like Arches National Park. And it's going to pin that point. But notice how now that pin's not where I want it to be. I can drag and drop it, right? So see, it added it right there to my little Zion area. So adding layers, there, add layers. What's next? Okay. Like we looked at earlier, adding pictures. So if I wanted to click in here, click the picture button, I could go to Google image search and type in Arches National Park, and I can find any picture right on Google, select it, it adds it there to my map. Another cool thing is I can add multiple pictures. So there's a little plus sign here next to the picture. I can click that plus sign and I can go find another picture. And I can add a set of pictures to one pin. Oops. Let's say I wanted to add another picture. So you'll see that there's 2 of 2, 1 of 2. I can scroll through the different pictures. So students can add more than one picture, or you could add more than one picture if you created a map for them. And then down in here, I could write my description. Arches National Park. I could provide sentence frames for students, like is located here. and write some information about that place on the map. Let's see. I'm going to check the chat really quick. So we see Morgan's providing some stuff, places where elements can be found on Earth. That's a good one on the periodic table. Images. How do we find this on the waffle again? I'm clicking the maps. I don't know if that's right. In the waffle, it should say, let's see. When you click into the waffle, it's not the one that says Google Maps. There should be one that says Google My Maps. And now, for whatever reason, I'm not seeing it in here. Let's see. Interesting. I used to always get to it from the waffle. Doesn't look like you can get there anymore. So I would say that the best way then to get to it is just to type in Google My Maps. Oh my goodness, my dog's scratching, it's banging on the floor. And then click on it from there. Oh my goodness. Okay. So next part is creating lines. So in this example, it was the 13 colonies. So students, they created lines around different colonies, right, and added layers. And they wrote information about the economy, the social structure, the religion, and the local government of those different colonies, and they worked in groups. So to create a line, you'll notice up here at the top, there's a little tool that says draw a line. If I click on that, I can add a line or shape. I can add a driving route. So this is really helpful if you're traveling on a road trip using a map outside of it, outside of school, or if you wanted students to see how far something was to something else, like driving directions, biking routes and walking routes, you can also add. So if you click on the line tool, this little plus sign will pop up and you're able to draw your lines. So if I wanted to box out an area here, I could draw a line around it. And then I could label that line. Like say this part of Arches National Park is where you can find some kind of, I don't know, rocks. So you could have students label that line that they drew, label that space, and see it added it over here to my Zion National Park. I could also change the line color if I wanted the line color to be different. And I could also change the line width if I wanted it to be darker. And again, I could go in and add a description and add pictures. I don't know what kind of rocks you find there, but like say that it's limestone. We could go in here and find a picture of what limestone looks like and add it to our little area that we drew. So you could have students, you know, find places and draw this, use this line tool to draw places around it, which is like what I did with that other teacher when we did the colonies. Right, so they found places like New York and they labeled used the line tool to draw around the map. And you can zoom in and out of your map down here with these pluses and minuses. So like right now we're in New York City. But if we wanted to see it out farther, we could come out farther. And then we could use our line tool to draw lines. Even though they're like funky, it would be a funky line. Let's do Massachusetts. Right, it's not always going to come out perfect, but you can have a little line, and then you could label it Massachusetts, and you could write some information about that. So there is some ways that you can use the line tool, right, to have students map out different places. Let's see what was next. This is just a little GIF that shows you how to use the line tool. So you can see they're circling North Dakota. adding it to their map. Notice how they filled it. So we can go in and fill this map. Right? If we wanted to make it less transparent, we can change the transparency and then change the color. And then let's see, one of the last things that I wanted to show you was your base map. So depending on what you are studying, you can do this base map that we're on that shows you the states and the roads. There's also other base maps, right? This one that shows you more green. It doesn't show you the roads in the highway system. This one that's a little bit lighter and it shows you some of the what's the word? Topography. So there's also different base maps that you can pick and choose from. Oh, look at, thank you, Morgan. Drive plus new, more my maps. So it's not in the waffle anymore. See what happens when you leave the classroom, you get, you lose track. So from your drive, new, more, Google My Maps. So it is not in your waffle anymore. If we create a map like you did when you visited Washington, D.C., do we have to download the map to our phone, or is it opening the app enough? Opening the app is enough. So the map that I made for Washington, D.C., I made it on my personal account because my personal account is what's on my phone. So I made sure to make it on my personal account. I mean, I guess it could have logged into my school account on my phone, but I made it using my personal account. That way when I opened, where's my phone? When I opened Google My Maps, I downloaded the app on my phone, which is also helpful. Like if you have students that don't have computers, you can easily make these maps on your cell phone. So I have downloaded the Google My Maps on my phone, and then I can see the different maps that I have. So like here is this is a map of Salinas where I've just saved different places. So another way, I did this presentation with the adult school, and it was really cool because they talked about having their adult students create maps of community resources, like where can you get public Wi-Fi, or where's the best place where's some like clinics or doctor's offices, right? So also using the community-based map, helping students navigate, finding things on maps that way. And then, like I said, you download that My Maps, and then I know you probably can't see it from there, but the maps that I've created are saved here, and I can just click on them, and it takes me to those maps. Okay. What time are we at? Oh gosh, the time goes by so quickly. Okay, so 10 minutes, what we're gonna do is practice. So you're gonna go to your drive, right? You're gonna click new, you're gonna go more, Google My Maps, open up your map, or if you have the site opened, right, that we were on, you can just click create new, right? If you're on this, if you go to this, if you clicked on this link, you can create a new map. So what I'd like you to do is pin 3 community resources or 3 places on the map. Provide a description, practice, the edit, providing a description, adding a photo or a video to your map, and then add a name and a layer to your map, and then practice drawing lines and shapes. You'll notice that there is also down here, I'll put it in the chat, there's a bit.ly that has a bunch of, oops, I typed it wrong, has some cheat tools for you, or some resources to help you. Oh my gosh. I'm out of practice presenting, you guys. It's been summertime. Oh, it's downloading it. So here is a Google My Maps cheat sheet that I got from somebody on the internet. So it helps you right? Here's access Google Maps, and then there's just some screenshots and visual directions. So also something you can pick and steal from if you wanted to use it with your students. So I'm going to set a 10-minute timer, and then feel free to unmute and ask questions or ask them in chat if you get stuck. But I wanted to give you some playground time to play around with Google My Map. I also put the sign in back in chat if you came in late and you needed to sign in. Make sure you sign in. You don't need to sign out. And then here's the slides if you wanted the slides. Looks like you only get 10 layers. Yeah, I know that it was a limited amount of layers. The Vietnam one, we had students do, they made their own maps. That 13 colonies map, they worked in groups, right? Because there's only 13 colonies. And not every colony had its own layer. How do you share with students? Good question. I didn't talk about sharing. So when you're in the map, next to that add a layer is the share button. So if you click that share button, you can enable link sharing, and then you can make it public so that everybody can access it and find it. So if you turn on link sharing, then this link will work for whoever has the link, or you can make your map public on the internet and then anybody will be able to find it. So if you just make it enable link sharing, and then you can copy and paste this link and put it in your Google Classroom, or however it is that you're going to share it with your students. So Google My Maps doesn't allow you to share individually like you can on a Google Doc, right? Like where you can add individual people. You can turn on link sharing, and then whoever has the link will have access to the map. That little share button. And it does, that looks new too. This drive sharing button looks like you can add specific people to your map. can you restrict certain individuals from joining? So it does look like when you click share, if you don't enable link sharing and you click drive sharing, that you can add specific people. So you could add your all your own students, and then they would only have access to that link. How do you add a photo again? So when you put the pin, so let's say we want to go to, where do we want to go? Let's go to Rome. Not Rome, Georgia. Rome, Italy. We're going to click add to map. And from here, there's that little camera. Also cool that you can add YouTube videos. So I can go to YouTube and I can search like Rome, and I could find some kind of, not a song. Here we go, top 10 things to do in Rome. And I could add this video to my Google map, this YouTube video. But I could also go to the picture and I can go to Google image search and I could type in, I don't know, Vatican, the Vatican. And then I can scroll through and pick one of the pictures and select. So now I have a picture of the Vatican and I have a video about the top things to do in Rome. Is there a way to lock the line outline so students do not move it? Good question. I don't think that I had it locked in that. Oops. I don't want to change here, but I don't think it's not locked on there. You can make the map. If you make a map that you're going to share with students, you can make that map just viewable, right? So you could go to share, drive sharing, and you make that map so that people can view the map, but they can't change the map, right? So down here I can go restricted, or I can go Salinas Union High School District can view the map, and then I can share that. And so then students wouldn't be able to edit the map. They'd only be able to view the map. Now, if I made them editor, then they would be able to edit the map. So if you're using the map to teach a lesson, I would share it as just view the map. So the map that you guys used in the beginning that you pinned your favorite place, that map was editable. So you were able to search and drop pins. If I shared that map as view, you would only see the pins that were already on that map. Yeah, and that is like Elizabeth finding maps and using them, because you can make a copy of them. There's lots of them already made on the internet, and there's lots of ideas already on the internet. So I like that, like hashtag work smarter, not harder. So this one is a periodic table. It's pretty cool. So like if you find a map like Elizabeth just did, if you click on these three little dots here in the top corner, you can make a copy of that map. So you could make a copy of the map and edit it. Find something that you like, make a copy of it and edit it to fit your needs. I like this idea though. You could have students be different different parts of the periodic table. You probably don't sound, I don't know the periodic table very well, but it looks like here there's different families, And so you could have them search up those different parts of the periodic table. Ooh. It's triggering. Any other questions? I want to talk about Padlet a little bit with the last couple minutes that we have. Any questions or ideas or ahas or things that you're thinking about using maps in your classroom? Or you're not ready to think about going back yet? How can you search for activities already made? You should be able to just Google things. Like if I went to Google and they used to have a way to search in here for maps that were already created. Oh, look, so here's a bunch of these maps that have been done on mine, but I think you could just go to Google and type in, like, let's say I wanted to find like Washington or Revolutionary War, Google my map. Like here's battles and events of the Revolutionary War. So I feel like if you just went and searched for whatever it is that you're thinking about, you would find some kind of something to give you inspiration. So this looks like it was a teacher, because up here it says driving question, how does the outcome of a battle affect the winning of a war? How do the events trigger more battles? And so it looks like students or the teacher pinned different battles and then wrote blurbs about the battle. Here's another one that's Oregon Trail. So you could easily go Google and find examples that might help. And like if you find an example that you like, click those 3 dots. You can copy the map, just like you can copy anything else in Google, and then you could edit it to fit your needs so you're not starting from scratch. I guarantee almost any idea that you have in your head, if you Google it, you'll find something. Not sure if there's a limit, Daisy. That one that we just looked at, though, looked really long. This one. 3 paragraphs. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Padlet. So hopefully you were able to use Padlet last year, right? Because the district purchased that premium account, and the district continued to purchase that premium account, right? So you have unlimited access to Padlets. So you would go to log in with Google. I'll put this in the chat for you, right? So that's our district's Padlet account. So you log in with Google, and you would see, right, your different Padlets that you've made. When you log in with your school account, right? Log in with your school account in Google, and then you'll have that premium access. And if for whatever reason you don't and you've never done it, you might not be in the system. I'll have to add new teachers this year, but you can always just send me an email and I can get you added to the Padlet. So we are continuing to purchase that premium Padlet for you to use. So when you log into Padlet, right, you make your Padlet, you design your Padlet, you choose the way that you want to, and then you share your Padlet. My suggestion is to change the Padlet to secret or to password protected. So a lot of teachers last year, they made theirs password protected, and then they just had one password that they always use. So their students always knew how to get to the Padlet. Like that Vietnam one, that teacher's password was just history. So every time they opened a Padlet from her class, the password was always just history. And then you can also make it public so that anybody can write on it. So from your, let's see, from Padlet, make Padlet, there's different options. You can do the wall, which is like kind of messy. You can do a stream, which is one single line. You can do a grid. You can do shelves. So like you can have different, so if you had students working on different topics, I've done civil rights movement, and I had a shelf for each different group in the civil rights movement. You can do even a map here. So for this one, I would probably do a wall. Right, you can change the name of your Padlet. Oops. I'm going to call this one Google Maps Practice. You didn't know you were going to get Google Mapped in here. They always give it a funny little thing like this says made with whimsy. Sometimes they're funny and I just leave them. You can give it an icon. And then again, you can change the appearance, the background, the color scheme, the font, all those different things. Here's posting. So if I was working with students, I normally would toggle this over that says attribution, so it displays their name. So that's going to make them have to log into Padlet. So students don't have premium access to Padlet, but they don't need premium access because they don't need to make a bunch of Padlets. They'll just need to create a free account. Then their name will always show up when they write on a Padlet. You can turn on and off commenting. You can turn on and off different reactions. I often put this like one on so people can heart it. You can do voting and stars. You can even now grade a Padlet. Give it a grade. You can require approval. This one's a good one. It filters out profanity. So it recognizes profanity and filters it out and won't post it. So once you make those, you go start posting. Up at the top corner is a little share button. So up here, you can change the privacy. So you notice that this one is private. It says it keeps the Padlet hidden from the public. Even if someone manages to get it, they won't be able to access it. So you don't want that because then your students can't access it. So you change the privacy. You can change it to password protected, right? And then write your password as something easy, all lowercase. Change your permissions and write. Or you can make it secret. So if you make it secret, it's public, and then just anybody who gets the link will be able to access it, but it's not searchable via the web. So those are just different share settings. If you make it organization-wide, students won't be able to access it because only the teachers, only our teacher emails are organization-wide. So you're going to want to make it password, or you're going to want to make it secret. So from here, now your Padlet is ready. Right? You can just double click from with anywhere, and students can then come in here and upload their map. So if I wanted to, I guess they don't even have to upload it, they can just link it. So if I wanted to take our little practice map, I could copy and paste my URL. Then I can go back to Padlet, which I seem to have lost. I can enter my URL and save it. And now it's going to pop up a little picture of my map. Oops, it's saying sign in because I probably don't have those share settings as public. So I want to change my share settings to enable the link. That way. Why is it not showing it? Well, normally it would show a picture of it. But one cool thing that we found is that you can create a screencast on your Padlet. Oops. Oh my gosh, I probably disabled the extension. Oh, video recorder. So this video recorder lets you record a video. So you could have students record videos of themselves. I don't know why the screencast one isn't showing up. Audio. Oh, screen recorder, because I'm blind. So it's going to ask you to install an extension. It's an approved extension, so students are able to download it. So if they add this extension, they can screen record from right within Padlet. So we had the students, I wish I had the example. We had the students from within Padlet do screen record. They recorded a little walkthrough of their map and then they posted it to the Padlet. No, I can't find it up here. Too many extensions. Where's it at? There. Turn it on. Let's try it again. click the little dots. We're going to click screen record. It's going to ask us if we want to allow all of these things. We're going to say yes. So if I was a student and I had my map pulled up, I could share my screen. Allow. So now you can see that it's recording. So I could go over to my map and I could share what I'm talking about on my map. And then when I stop it and save it, it's going to put that little screen recording into my Padlet. So you could have students record what they did on their map and then have other students watch it and provide comments or feedback or likes or some kind of gallery walk on here. I could label it like my Vietnam map. So one little trick that we didn't know that we could do till we were making this Google My Map, screen recording right within your Padlet. Yeah, so it is like Flipgrid. You can do like a Flipgrid video on Padlet. You could do a screen recording on Padlet. You can add GIFs and other funny things to Padlet. So then you would have students make sure that their map, right, is enable link sharing, that it's public, have them paste it into their Padlet, and then have them screen record. It was funny because it used to look like this and now it looks different, which threw me off. Do you know if Google My Maps shows different projections? What do you mean projections? And that's interesting, Nathaniel. I don't know if it does it in other languages. I'm not sure if it does that. If we didn't see it on there, then I don't think that it does. We're running out of time. I wanted to provide you lastly with some resources. So in this presentation, I'll put it in the chat again so that you can open it and then it will be in your recents, and feel free to make a copy of it or pin it to your drive. But there are links here to a bunch of different maps. So there is a link to this map, right? If you click here, it's going to open up this map resource page. So there is a link to that little happy place thing that we did in the beginning. And there's also some examples. So here's like European explorers, immigration, 13 colonies, state reports, just a bunch of different maps that I've collected, Lewis and Clark. There's ELA, I think this is a book. Here's a science one, Mercury history in the San Francisco Bay. So just a bunch of different little maps. There's also some that are hyperdocs, which can be helpful for students. As you keep going down, there's more. Again, sorry that they're heavily social studies. Just where my world has been for the last 8 years. I'm trying to build my other content area.
Hey, Briana?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to cut the map? So let's say you only want students to look at the United States of America. Is there a way to only display a map that shows that, or does it always default to the entire world and then you zoom in?
I think it's always going to default to the entire world.
Okay.
Then you could type in United States and it'll probably just narrow you into that country, right? If we just type in United States, it's going to pull us out right here. But they can always drag, like, I don't think there's a way to not be able to move around, right? It's just like dragging and dropping or making it bigger and smaller. I don't think, I've never seen a way to just be one country or one place. But if you type in the name of that country, it'll narrow you into that place. So it's like always easy to get back. And theoretically, like, you could make a map and make the first pin called the United States and pin it, and then you could force copy that map. So if I had this map and I wanted to pin the United States, and then I wanted my students to start with this base map, say I made a base map with some examples, right? You use that force copy trick. So anywhere in a Google link where it says edit, you go up there and you type copy. And that's how you get that Oh, maybe you can't do it on Google Maps. I thought you could do it on anything. Let's see. That sucks. I've never tried that, and I just had like a great idea that you could be able to do that, but it doesn't look like you can. Most like if we go to my presentation where it says edit, or where up here, if we typed in copy, that's how you do that forced copy trick. And I figured that that would work, right? It does that forced copy thing. So then if you share this link, it's always going to ask them to make a copy. And I thought for sure it would work in here, but it doesn't look like it does. Nope, never mind. Thought I had a workaround. But you can do that on Google Docs and Google Slides. So we are just at time, and I want to make sure that you have lunch. So again, like, feel free to always reach out if you want to collaborate on a map, or if you have ideas and you're not sure where to start. I'm always going to be here to help. And then again, I'm going to put the feedback in there, the feedback form. So if you have a second to fill that out, so feel free to email, feel free to tweet. And then if you haven't, you can join our SUHSD Facebook group if you haven't, and share resources that way with teachers across the district. And don't forget to sign in, and have a great lunch, and have a great rest of your day and 3 days, or next 2 days if you're staying for the whole teacher prep. And I'm presenting again on Friday a 2-hour session on EduProtocols. Thank you guys. Have a nice lunch. Stop this recording.